How's it going, YouTube? Right, we're back on the camper again today. I need to do a bit of the electrics today. In a previous video, I picked up all the Victron stuff. I've got these two solar panels here right in the way, and I need to finish this kitchen unit. This kitchen unit video will most likely be out before this video with the solar, to be honest. This is probably going to be another one of those videos where I do a bit now, leave it a few weeks, and then do a bit more. It'll be a bit of a broken video put together. But what I'm hoping to do in this video is get this solar mounted. I want to get that up on the roof because I need it out of the way. Let's talk about how we're going to wire it up. And probably in the back of the van, I need to start deciding how I'm going to have all the electrics laid out here, because what I'm going to do is I'm most likely going to have the battery sat there, and then all of this is going to be a cabinet going around with all the electrics in. And then what my idea is to have all the Victron stuff in there behind a perspex panel that's all going to be lit up and looking all pretty and make it really nice. So all the electrics is going to be kind of on this side. I want to compact it in as much as I possibly can, and then on this side what it'll be is I'm going to get the plumbing stuff towards this back corner. I'll bring another cupboard out down here, and I'll either put some shelves in it or I'll put some cupboard doors in it or something like that, and then that'll be a storage area for stuff. And then this middle bit that's left here, what I want to do is make like a tray that's on linear rails that pulls out, so if I want any bikes or anything like that on it, that's where they can fit. And it's just started raining, so that's absolutely fantastic for what I'm going to do today. Right, so let's have a look what I've got here. What I've got is two Victron Energy. There's a second one, look. Two Victron Energy 305 watt panels, so a total of 610 watt. Right, these are the new Series 4B. They're supposed to be slightly more efficient, and they're a slightly different size to the old ones. So these are the latest version of their panel. So as I said, when I built the roof rack, these are 1658 by 1002. So I needed 2 meters to get these side by side in between the two skylights, and hopefully we've got that. Right, so if I turn this panel around a second, let's have a look at the spec of it. On the back of all solar panels, there's always a sticker telling you the specifications of that panel. You can see here we've got the 2 cables coming out, the positive and negative with the MC4 connectors. And if we look at the rating of this panel, what we can see is the rated maximum power is 305 watt. These are the important ones. Voltage at Pmax, 32.54 volts. So this is a 32.5 volt panel. But when you're speccing your system, you need to spec it out for the open circuit voltage there, which is the highest one. So when this is not connected to anything, this is the highest voltage that you can expect. And this one's 39.86. The current at Pmax is 9.38 amps, which is a nice level, and maximum series fuse rating is 20 amps. So depending on how you wire these up, these either need to be fused or not. How I'm wiring them up, they won't need to be fused. There's 2 ways of wiring up these panels. Because I've got 2 panels, you can either wire them up in series or in parallel. If I get a bit of wood or something to draw on, let's have a quick look. So if I say we've got 2 panels like that, plus there, and your negative there, that goes into your MPPT, which is there, plus minus there, plus minus there, coming out the panel. For parallel connections, what you'd need to do is literally your 2 positives, you connect together at the panels, your 2 negatives connect together. So you've got your 2 positives connected straight together into a T-piece, going out to your positive there, and your 2 negatives connected together in a T-piece, going out to your negative there. So that's in parallel. Because of Ohm's law, when you're wiring things in parallel, the voltage stays the same and you add together the current produced. So in this case, it would be a 32.5 volt system, 9.38, so say 18.6 amps ish. In a series connection, you've got your 2 panels there, positive and your negative there. We've got our MPPT with the positive and negative. So what you do is you come straight into your MPPT from one panel, connect the positive and negative together, and then your negative goes through. So what your power's doing is going from one panel through the other panel and then down to your MPT, back out, and then through both panels one at a time. In a series configuration, you add together the voltages, so that would be 65, and your current would stay the same, so 9.3. There's advantages and disadvantages to both of these systems. The disadvantage of series is if one panel is not seeing the sun, then nothing will work because you need both panels to see the sun. Whereas in the parallel configuration, as long as one panel is seeing the sun, you're getting power out to this MPPT. The advantage of the series configuration is because the current is lower, you've got less chance of a volt drop, so it's a more efficient system at this end, and you can use smaller size cables. On the parallel system, you're compensating for the higher current, so you're using thicker cables, heavier cables, and there's more of a chance of a volt drop along a long run. So what I'm going to do for my configuration is I'm going to wire these up in series. When you're wiring them up in series, what you need to take account for is obviously the voltage, but not just this voltage, it needs to be the open circuit voltage, which is 39.8 volts per panel. So if we said a maximum of 80 volts, we need to be taking in consideration a maximum of 80 volts on a 9.3 amp circuit. And if you remember, the fuse rating for these panels is 20 amps, so at 9.3 amps, where we don't need to fuse these panels. If you was over the 20 amps, then what you've got is you've got a chance of, if you've got a short circuit, then it would blow one of the circuits in this panel before the fuse. At 9.3 amps, we're okay. The panels will handle a short circuit. So we're just watching out for this 80 volts, which brings me to the MPPT. The MPP I've got for this system is the Smart Solar Charge Controller, the 100-30, which means 100 volts at 30 amps, which, as you can see from down here, we're looking at 80 volts, 9.3 amps. So this is plenty. This particular one has a VE direct port, so we can plug that into our servo later, which will control everything and monitor everything that's going through it. So this is the controller that I'll be using. The next thing we need to do is get these two great big panels up on the roof of the van and make sure they fit, because I've not actually tried them. I'm just going from my measurements from previously. So let's get them up on the roof and see how they fit. Right, so as you can see, that literally just fits. Look how much gap there is there, and there's about the same the other end. And this, at these sides, is literally flush perfect. So I'm glad it's ended up exactly how I planned it. Right, to fasten these onto the rack, I've got some little 90-degree brackets here. What I'm going to do is, because it's got some bolts under there that's lifting it off, I'm going to fit the brackets this way around, and then I'm going to lift it up slightly like that, so it'll have a bolt underneath holding it down, and then I'm going to bolt it through these ends here. And then in the middle, I'm going to do something similar. So in the middle, you can see I've left a little gap there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill some holes in the ends there, and then this will slide in between, and then all the way through this lip, and bolt both the panels together. I'll bolt them both like that, and then that can be bolted down. So I think the best way to do it is use a nut and bolt all the way through this, so I can have a nut on the bottom there, so I can get all that ready. I'll bolt it all together, I'll drill a hole in this, and then I can lower it down, get a spanner in there to stop it spinning, and put a little nut on the bottom, have a lock nut there. So let's get this bolted down now. I think what I might do later as well is get some trim all the way down the side. That's kind of at the front there is slightly sloped, so if it hits any tree branches or anything, it'll hit the tree branches and it'll go up, just to give the panels a little bit of a helping hand. Normally I'd like to get them flush inside, the same as this one. As you can see there, the panels are flush down at the same level as the roof rack. I'd like to have done that, but to do it on this, the roof rack would have just been too wide. So what I'll do is I'll get some trims just to deflect any branches or anything like that up off of this front end. So we'll do that later. So next job, let's get this bolted in. Actually, before I bolt it down, I've got to wire it up, haven't I? Because on this end, I'll not lift it up with one hand. The wires are coiled up here, so I need to plug those together. And then on the back here, I need to get a cable gland through. It's a bit of a pain on this boxer because they're ridged roofs. But what I'll do is I've got a little double cable gland here. I'll put it this way around. As you're driving, the rain's going across it this way. You don't want it that way around because everything will force through these holes. So we'll put it this way around. I'd rather put it on a high bit than a low bit because then I can drill through there. So the bit that's actually going through into the vehicle is on the high bit. I don't want it sat in there because the water will pool in there. So if I put it on this high bit here, it just overlaps slightly. So what I'll have to do is get some sticker flex or something, and then I'll make that bit up underneath. I can stick this down properly. So let's get a wire drilled through there, get that down. I've got a wiring kit as well. Where's that? This has got the MC4 connectors on it as well ready. This is 6mm cable, which is plenty for what we need and the distance we're traveling. On this side here, this is where the cable's going to come through. It's going to come through there, down the wall, and then down to the controller here. So it's only a couple of meters, to be honest. It's not that far. Right, so what I need to do is get that cable gland in the roof, get this cable through, plug the panels together. I'm not going to plug them into this just yet because I need to make sure the other end's safe. Because remember, while ever the panels are outside, even on a dull day like this, they're going to start producing some power. So we don't want any bare ends of any cables touching anything, do we? So let's get this cable in and get the panels mostly wired up, not completely. Right, that's that in. I'm not going to stick it down yet until I've got all this plugged in and wired up, so I know exactly what lengths all these cables are going to be going to these panels. So then what I can do is I can cable tie them to this roof rack, make them all nice and neat, and they'll all be to the right length then. And then what I can do is I can tighten all these glands up and I can stick that down. So the next job is get all this prepped, all the cables out and in the right place so I can plug it all in. Well, nearly all of it in. I need to make the other end of this cable safe first, and then get those brackets on and bolt them down. Right, so that's all that wired up. What I've done is the positive is going to this panel, and then the negative of this panel is connecting into the positive of this panel, and then the negative of this panel is going back and connecting into this negative wire, which is going back there. So the power's going through this panel, out into this panel, out, and then back down this gland. I've stuck the gland down now. So what I need to do next is I need to start marking up for these brackets, bolting them all together, and then bolting them down. Down inside, I've kind of ran it out. I need to sort all this out and put it inside some sleeving. I'll do that later. What I did try doing was I've put some ends on it, and I did try plugging it into this all powers. It's just over the voltage of what this can cope with. One panel works all right, but 2 panels is literally just over. But what we can do is if I stick this meter on in DC, we can put these in there like that. And there we are. We can see we're getting 72.1 volts out of this system now. I'll leave these plugs on like that just to keep it all safe, but we're getting the voltage out there, and that's working as it should be now with 72 volts coming out of it. Right, so let's get these panels bolted on the roof, and then that bit's done for now. Right, it started raining really hard, so I had to get on with this and just get it done. I was like a drowned rat when I'd finished, but that was a few weeks ago. You can see now the solar's now done. It's all fastened up. We'll go and have a look in a second. There it is. That's how it looks from above. As you can see, it's taken a real big space in there. Let's have a look at these brackets. Right, like I said, I bolted through there, and then I've gone straight through this. I've nut and bolted it all the way through rather than using the zebbers in this track. I didn't want any risk of anything moving, so I've gone straight through with it. And in the middle, I've done a similar thing, but what I did was I've put a nut and a bolt straight through there on the inside. So what I did was these two panels here, I bolted them together with this. And then as you can see there, I've got a nut and a bolt going through there. So I put the bolt through and I fastened this up, and then I got my hand up behind and I've got a nut and a bolt on both sides, clamping it all together, and then that holds this bit all nice and steady there. Halfway down in the middle, I don't know if you can see, we've got that crossbeam of unistrut that I fitted. I got some draft exclusion foam stuff and I stuck that to the bottom of the panels. What that's done is just taking the weight to the middle of these panels, but to be honest, they're pretty sturdy anyway, so they'll not go anywhere. And this gland now, this is all completely stuck up, and so that's all nice and sealed and all done, and the wires are going inside. I'll sort the wires out inside at a later point. The MPPT and everything else we'll get to when we do the inside, because we've got to start that soon. That's going to live all along here. I think the next job, what I've got to do is round the side of the van here. I want them both on this side as well, actually. I need the power inlet here, and I want the water inlet at the side of it. I want them in that space down there. Normally this is the sort of space where I think it's just overlapping in the bathroom where people have the toilet door so they can take the chemical toilet out, but we're not having chemical toilets in here. So I want the water and the electric inlet both on that side, down as low as possible so it's out of the way. Reason why I don't want them on this side is because that's the sliding door side, and I want this kept all nice, because if I get an awning and everything on the side here, you don't want a cable dangling out there. I want them both on this side. Plus, when it's parked up on this drive, I can leave it plugged in there, because that's my neighbour's drive there, and even though I'm walking all over it now, I don't particularly want to leave a cable going out onto their drive. What I've got is I've got these magnetic ones. The name of them spell FAWO, I think. I got these off of eBay. As you can see here, this one's the water one, and it's got a set of keys as well with it so we can lock it up. So they're quite posh, better than these clippy ones, I think. And this one here, this is for the electric. If we just open it up just to show you, that's where the electric goes in there for the input. And to fit these, literally all we need to do is we need to drill a hole through the vehicle, 90mm diameter. Kitchen unit's kind of half done. I've had to leave it because I've ran out of this blue vinyl wrap stuff. I've got some more on order. And then what I'm hoping is down here, it's going to come out just down there. What I'd like to get is the water one this side of that wall, so it's actually in the garage area. And then the electric one, it doesn't matter too much if it's slightly in the bathroom, because it's going to be behind a wall panel anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it to as close as this wheel arch as I can at the back, and just get it just forward of that, and then the next one as close to it as I can, so they're both as far back into the garage as possible. Right, I've got some stuff marked out if you can make out my squiggles. This line here, I don't really want to come any further this way than that, because the inside of this wheel arch is coming around about here, so I want to stay that side of it. These two lines here, what I've done is I've measured from that window on the inside to the bathroom wall, and then I've measured from the window on the outside to here, and that means the bathroom wall is about there, so this bit is just inside the bathroom, which is fine. So what I want to do is on this cross here, this puts these about halfway-ish between that and this curved line here, so they'll sit about halfway. I want to get the water one in here because that's in the garage, and the pipe can go straight out and then down out under the van, and then the electric one can go just the side of it there because the cable's flexible obviously, so the cable can come out and come back round into the garage. Right, so I'm going to get my hole saw, I'm going to cut both of these out, I'm going to get some hammerite, and then I'll paint the edges just where the bare metal is to make sure there's no bare metal showing. These have got gaskets on them anyway, so what I'll do is then I'll get these screwed on and in place. Right, they are in. Let's have a look. As you can see, I've fitted them both there, like I said. This one's the water, this one's the electric. This decal here, I don't know if you can see, but I cut it out around there and I've removed it from behind this because I didn't want it to affect the seal. As you'll notice, when I was putting this one in, I wired it up and I've got the wire on the back of it, so let's go and have a look at that. But that's where they're going to live, just down there like that, and I think they look quite nice, especially that grey colour. You can get them in like white, black and grey. I ordered grey for this one, and they look quite nice, especially with having these magnets as well. It makes them a bit better. And I've got obviously this one's a locking one for the water as well, which also makes it doubly good. But they look quite nice. Let's have a look on the inside. Let's go in the back in this bit because you can see a bit better. In the bathroom, so there's the water one. That's coming in just in the garage, like I said. So what will happen is that pipe will come out there, and then it'll go straight through the floor down there, down to where the tanks are, because we're having underslung tanks. This one's the electric. I've run the wire out to the electrical area. Don't forget that if you're wiring things in like this that might have to be taken out later, to leave a little bit of a loop of wire. Don't take this out and then run the wire all tight, because what you'll find is you'll finish all this off and then in the future you'll have a problem. You'll want to get to the back of that and you'll unscrew it from the front and you'll take it out and you can't move it because the wire's too tight. So make sure whenever you're doing anything like this you leave a bit of a loop, so there's enough cable behind this wall to be able to pull that back out and work on it if you need to. So that is another job done. In this back down here, I've ran all the cables over to this side now, because this is where all the electrics are going. Right, so if I sit my battery there, let's see if I can explain. Right, I've not got an exact plan what I'm going to do, but I know roughly how I want it to look. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of make it up as I go along. But the basic idea is from the back here and then down the side, this is all going to be boxed in completely. What I'm going to do in this area here, this is going to be all the Victron equipment there. That's going to sit in front of this wheel arch, so that's going to be boarded up the back, and then all the Victron equipment's going to sit on there, but what it's going to be inside another box. So in front of the Victron equipment there's going to be a perspex cover. This front's all going to be removable, and so basically what it means is all this will be boxed in, but then there'll be a perspex window. All the Victron stuff will be behind that. I'm going to cable tuck it as much as I can so you literally can't see any cables for the installation, and then I'm going to backlight it behind it, so all this installation's all going to be lit up on a switch that will turn on for this garage. What I will end up with is I'm most likely going to end up with a space from there to the roof backwards. So what I'm thinking about doing is incorporating into this box, I'm going to have a little hole here that'll either have a door or something on, but this is going to have a little hole here and it'll go all the way through down there. What I might do is cut into the back of there so it goes behind the fridge, and then box all that out. And then if I want any fishing rods or anything like that, they're going to sit back there. So there's going to be a little bit of storage behind the electrics for like some fishing stuff or something like that. So I'm going to make a good feature out of that and make it all lit up with all the Victron stuff all fastened back. I've got some carbon fibre wrap and stuff like that, so the board that I'm fixing all the Victron to, I'm going to cover that all up in carbon fibre. So I'm going to make that look as posh as I can, so when you open this it really shows off the system. On the end of the bed there, the reason why I put the mattress and that in is because I'm going to get a bit of 2B1 on there, and then I want some flat board up there, so it's got like a headboard on this end of the bed as well to tidy all that up. And then on the back here I'm going to light it up so it lights up all this garage underneath. So this is the next job, starting to build all this. I'll build like a 2B1 frame, roughly where I want it to be, and then I'm going to make it up as I go along and see what happens. I need to get this kitchen finished first because some vinyl wrap's coming in the next couple of days, and then I can get that done and in the vehicle. So I'm not sure how long this video will be. It's literally taken me about 3 weeks to make, in between doing this and the solar and then this kitchen units and going to work and everything else. So hopefully it's a long enough video to get people a bit interested in something, and hopefully it gives you an idea where I'm going with the electrics. So subscribe if you want to see more of this, or any tool reviews or CarPlay stuff or anything like that I kind of randomly do on this channel. Like the video if you like it. Comment below anything you want to say, because I do like to read your comments. And I'll catch you guys in another video. Cheers.